Is Derek McInnes about to become the new Rangers manager? Could Lawrence Shankland be dropped for Scotland? And is anybody in midfield irreplaceable? Hello, I'm Jonathan Sutherland, and this is the Scottish Football Podcast. All the news, views, and analysis you need on Tuesday, the 16th of June. And Scotland are still top of Group C at the World Cup.
He might be seeing this as his opportunity to get to Rangers and almost do what he done with Hearts this season. Steady the ship a little bit, get Rangers back into challenging for a title.
Could this be the day that Derek McInnes makes his move to Ibrox? And what makes him the right fit for the job at Rangers?
Stands it up into the middle of the area and it's a goal! Scotland have got the opener through Lawrence Shankland. Beautifully created.
Will Steve Clarke shuffle the pack against a highly impressive Morocco? And could that mean Lawrence Shankland dropping onto the bench?
I think that's the best I've ever seen the Scotland crowd, especially away. It's not as if we're at Hampden anymore. We're a long way from home, and the turnout was absolutely incredible. So goosebumps when I was standing around that centre circle.
We'll keep you up to date with everything that's happening at the World Cup. We're on BBC Sounds, where you can find all the live coverage, commentaries and podcasts in the one place.
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sports Scotland.
I'm delighted to say we are joined by Rory and Tony Docherty this morning. Quick hellos to you both. Rory, enjoying the World Cup overall?
Yes, the kick-off times are a bit of a pain at times, I have to say. There's some games you want to watch, but your body just won't allow you to stay up to do it. But out with that, everything I have watched, I've enjoyed, I have to say.
Tony, how are you consuming the World Cup? A few live matches and then highlights the next morning, or are you up bright and breezy through the night?
Absolutely loving it, Jonathan. Getting up as early as I can, like I did this morning, filling up my wall chart, just the games that I missed. So we're getting there, and I'm getting a wee bit stato about it. That's us in 16 games down now. 8 draws, by the way, out of 16 games. So again, just shows you the importance of that win. Scotland got those 3 points on the board. A lot of teams are looking for that. But no, I'm loving it. When I'm capable of staying up, I'm loving and enjoying watching it.
A bit of a Scottish flavour to things as well. I saw Amad Diallo scoring the other day, Virgil van Dijk scoring the other day. Still thinking about Virgil van Dijk when he was at Celtic, obviously. And then Elijah Just lighting up the World Cup yesterday as well. Guys, I mean, it was brilliant to see because they were obviously thrashed by Haiti and you're not thinking that much of New Zealand. And then suddenly the 2 goals from Elijah Just were absolutely brilliant.
That's one I need to catch up on, Jonathan, to be quite honest with you. I've put it on the wall planner, but I've not seen the game yet. So it's only 6:30 in the morning, so I'll get there. But no, there's a real, you know what, there's a massive buzz about it. Obviously, the result with Scotland just get everybody on, such a positive at the moment. But the tournament's been great, and the good thing about it is it's only going to get better. I do think when it gets to that last 16, that's when it really hots up. But the kind of novelty of seeing sides, and yesterday's game, the Spain Cape Verde game. I mean, that's been the biggest shock of the tournament so far. A team favourites, I think Spain, their world ranking is 2, Cape Verde at 67. But it just shows you. I love Big Ange Postecoglou, just talking about the SPL team as well. His stuff in the studio where he was saying it's all about the fight and the dog, not in the dog in the fight, and that was the case, and it's probably going to be relevant to us going into our next tie. But no, thoroughly enjoying the World Cup and all the stuff that comes with it.
I just wanted to mention the goalkeeper that they've got as well, Vesovio, 40 years of age, just a young thing compared to Craig Gordon, obviously, but great story there as well, getting a clean sheet, brought up by his grandparents. I think he was talking afterwards about how he was just saddened that they were no longer around to see him claim this place at the World Cup, and you could see his emotion at the final whistle, and just a great story, a guy that plays football in the 2nd division of Portugal, he had tears in his eyes at the end.
Yeah, and he did fantastically well during the match as well. Cape Verde, their structure and their organisation behind the ball was fantastic, really, really good. Spain struggled to break them down. I suppose when you think of Spain, you associate Spain with the likes of Xavi and Iniesta, who can thread the eye of a needle. I think it just goes to show just how good that particular generation were. But I think it also highlights the importance of Scotland's win. That 1-0 win, when you look at everyone saying the performance maybe wasn't quite there, when you look at Spain and the fact that they struggled. You look at Uruguay last night, you would fancy them to beat Saudi Arabia. Brazil looked like a version of Brazil I've never seen before in the first half of their game against Morocco, just due to nerves and the magnitude of the circumstances. So when you factor all that in, to have a 40-year-old keeper in goals and to come out and get a result against Spain with all these factors in play and the emotion pouring out of him at the end, I know he's been their number one for a long time, just goes to show just how much it means not only to Scotland but every single nation that's involved.
These are the moments that really matter at World Cups. These moments that sort of capture your heart a little bit. Yeah. And let's hope for plenty more as the tournament continues. We will come back to the World Cup very soon. But we have to refer to domestic matters because it's hugely dramatic, or it has been this past week or so. In fact, pretty much since the season stopped, because just as we were getting over this incredible narrative of a Scottish football season where Celtic pipped Hearts for the title, and then Lawrence Shankland leaves to join Rangers from Hearts, it now looks like Derek McInnes, the Hearts head coach, is going to join Rangers. It seems that Danny Roll is off to RB Salzburg, and it seems that Derek McInnes will be the new Rangers manager when it all gets signed, sealed and delivered. If only we had somebody that kind of knew Derek McInnes on the podcast today or was associated with him in some way.
I'm right here, Jonathan.
I'll come to you in a second, Rory. Yes,
Rory, you were a kid at Rangers when he was there, weren't you?
I'm not quite that old, Tony. I wasn't a kid when Dennis was
Sorry about that.
Oh, Tony, I don't want you to divulge any confidences, obviously. Well, actually, I do, but at the same time...
But I won't.
You won't, I know. What are you making of it all?
Oh, listen, fantastic. You know, it's a brilliant opportunity if it presents itself. Obviously, everything's got to be made official, but if that opportunity arises, then from having the season that he had at Hearts last year, you know, we're so close, I think 3 or 4 minutes away from, you know, a seismic, you know, title win, you know, to be taken away, and now the way things transpire, nothing surprises me in football, absolutely nothing. And if this does go the way it's looking like as if it's going to go, then it's a brilliant opportunity for that. I think it's a perfect fit for Rangers, to be totally honest. I think in terms of Hearts, you know, Hearts are in that new era at the moment with Tony Bloom, and you see the work that's been done at Brighton as well. I think their analytics will just kick in, and I think there seems to be a real sequential thing about this, you know, and if it does happen, then Martin O'Neill's in place at Celtic, Derek McInnes is in place at Rangers. It's going to be one hell of a title race this year.
I don't know how much contact you keep with Derek, Tony. Obviously, you worked together for such a long time, but do you expect this to happen in the next 24 hours or so?
I wouldn't put a timeline on it. Yeah, of course, I still keep in touch with Derek. He's off on holiday. He's actually out at the World Cup at the moment, so just texting back and forward. So listen, things will run its course, and if it does, as soon as it becomes official, if it does become official, then yeah, I'm sure it'll be a real prospect of a top season.
What would it mean to him, Tony, to be Rangers manager? Because obviously he played for the club before.
Oh, of course. Listen, when he played and he had real success at the football club during that period as well, of course that'd be a massive thing, and I've got no doubt he'll go on and do a fantastic job, just as he's done everywhere. You know, Derek's strength is his longevity. He's been a manager now for, I think it's 18 years, you know, and 15 years I was assistant to him, and in that time, that's incredible to have that longevity and that amount of success. And Derek, for me, just as a person, he's a hugely competitive person, and you've seen that last year when people thought his team were going to go away and disappear. Through him, you know, purely through him and the recruitment that he done and the type of players that he recruited, you know, they were competitive right the way through. And I've got no doubt, having that edge, you know, having played at Rangers, having that affinity with the club, then I'm sure it'll be for them a fantastic appointment.
I'll give Tony a break right now, Rory, and come to you. And it's such an interesting development, this, isn't it? Because Danny Rowe came in at Rangers. He basically resurrected things after the Russell Martin era, got Rangers back into the title race, but then the doubts crept in amongst the Rangers fans post-split as Rangers' title challenge faded away completely. He's now going to RB Salzburg. It seems that Rangers will get compensation for him, and now they'll have to pay something, you'd imagine, to Hearts to get Derek McInnes. But presumably it makes good business sense from a Rangers point of view as well. Yeah, how good a deal do you think this is for Rangers?
I think it's the perfect scenario for Rangers. I mean, to think that 6 weeks ago, or 3-4 weeks ago, whatever it may be, that some Rangers fans, given the decline in the split, were looking to move him on, potentially to get money for him, and then use that money to recruit Derek McInnes. I don't think it could have fell any more favourably for Rangers. I really don't. I think as well, when you look at Danny Rule, yeah, he did resurrect them back into a title race, but so did Philip Clement for a spell, and they went up to Tony's Dundee one night and then Ross County and just completely collapsed. So it was, in terms of the rinse and repeat cycle, it looked like it potentially may be continuing. However, this is a spanner in the works, and in my opinion, the one thing that Derek McInnes will bring above all else is the one thing that's been levelled at Rangers for the last decade, and that's between the years. That's mentality. And for a lot of people out there, that is the one key piece that's been missing when it comes to the crunch. And I know people might turn around and say Derek McInnes, had the title in his hands and lost it. That's a nonsense, right? Hearts were never expected to do what they did last year. The amount of times they played in big games, at big moments, at big times, and got results and played well and knew how to win. And for Hearts, a club like Hearts in my lifetime, who've never been anywhere near it, to get so close, I think that Rangers are not only getting a fantastic manager, but I think they're potentially getting the final piece of the puzzle that's been missing.
Tony, how confident should Rangers fans be that Rangers can be real title contenders with Lawrence Shankland and Derek McInnes at the club?
Again, this is all hypothetical until things become official, but I think looking at it, yeah, it's proven, Rory, you're right, and obviously know him really well, Derek. It is that mentality, and you've seen it in abundance last year. You've seen it all through his career. You don't forget about the amount of second place finishes to Brendan Rodgers' Celtic when Aberdeen team, and last year in particular, every occasion when Hearts were written off, they'd come up trumps. They'd make sure. And you know what? There is similarities. Again, bringing it back to the Scotland thing as well. There is similarities there. The amount of games, and that comes down to a manager. Derek's got that mentality to make sure his teams win football matches. Steve Clarke's got that as well, and that's what we're seeing, and we're delighted to see. The fact that performance levels, people are maybe questioning, but we're winning matches, and that's, for me, to answer your question, that's what Derek would bring to Rangers. That word you mentioned there, the mentality, Rory. That I think that's something that, as I say, he's a competitor in everything that he does. And his team are so competitive, and that's what I think you're right to say. That's what a Rangers team that are going to go on and be successful probably need at this stage, and there's nobody better than him to do that.
They will be title contenders next season, Tony, won't they?
I would imagine they're title contenders every season it starts. It's a 2-horse race until something upsets it. And last year Hearts did upset it purely and simply down to A, the manager, and B, the recruitment. And I think that going forward, that'll be the case this year as well.
How much of an edge does it give Rangers, would you say, in terms of the title race next season, Rory? Obviously, Martin O'Neill, they've managed to keep him on. There still seems to be doubt over the backroom staff at Celtic. Right now, if this all comes to pass and Derek McInnes does become Rangers manager, where do you place them when people talk about favourites for the title next season?
Listen, asking for a kind of prediction on the title for next year is extremely difficult. I mentioned Derek McInnes' mentality and his know-how when it comes to winning. His one issue may be he's coming up against a powerhouse when it comes to these things in Martin O'Neill. He's got a proven track record. To win 7 on the bounce last year was just, I know there was a lot of controversy surrounding it, but to do that, it was just unbelievable to win the title. Mm-hmm. At this moment in time, Jonathan, I don't like sitting on the fence. I don't often do it, but I would be reluctant to sit here and say one or the other. But people talk about recruitment as well. I thought Rangers had a good January and kind of fell away, but I genuinely believe with Derek McInnes got into that split. If Derek McInnes is the Rangers manager, I don't think they collapse. They might not have won it, but I don't think they collapse. I think they take it to the last day at the very least. And with Martin O'Neill in charge, he's got a proven track record. I think it's got all the ingredients for nip and tuck, last day of the season stuff.
Is it a game changer for Rangers though, Rory, would you say? Because obviously Derek knows the league inside out. He knows what it takes, and he's shown everywhere that he goes that he can get absolutely everything out of the players at his disposal.
Yes, I do. I also think they've got somebody who, I don't know Danny Rowe, Philip Clement, etc., but when the going get tough, I don't think they knew how to handle it. I don't think they said the right things at times. Russell Martin, of course, as well. I think Derek McInnes ticks all those boxes before you even get out on the pitch. I don't think he's going to say anything that's going to draw too much attention in a negative sense. And I just think that he brings so many qualities before you've even got out on the pitch on a Saturday that it is a really, really good appointment. As I said, the only difficulty he may come up against is the fact that Martin O'Neill is so good at what he does. But from a fan's point of view, sitting watching both sides, that only makes for excitement. That makes for good football. That makes for everything you want to see from a title race.
It's not official yet, but it looks like being a matter of when, not if. Right, let's talk Scotland at the World Cup. Tony, you've got your world chart and you've been filling it in. You're going to look at the Elijah Just New Zealand highlights later on, obviously, and the first goal in particular you will absolutely love. In terms of Scotland, let's talk Scotland. There seems to be a different vibe in the camp now. Stephen Naismith talking about people doing cartwheels down the corridors, Steve Clarke cracking jokes. It's an enjoyable time. Steve Clarke's talking about how he really just wants to enjoy this tournament because he didn't enjoy the last two. And obviously, you can enjoy the warm glow of that victory now against Haiti, and it's got Scotland off to the start they need, albeit, we're greedy, obviously. We'd have loved more goals, but it was a tough game in the end. Now it's all about Morocco. How confident are you going into this Morocco match first and foremost? And what do you feel Scotland need to change to get the best out of Scotland? And should Scotland be looking to go for the win? I know a lot of people are being very cagey about things, and if we can get a point off Morocco or a point off Brazil and all this sort of thing, but don't we have to go into every match hoping to win?
Listen, the thing I'm loving just now, and I loved Nazy's interview yesterday, and the thing that's really permeating just now with all the fans and that feel-good factor we've got is that's coming for the manager, it's coming for the players. There's obviously a real connector between the staff and the players, and they've sat down, obviously your senior players, and they've looked at the tournament, they've looked at what do we need, and even that thing about the families coming and listening to the players. There's just a good feeling about the Scotland squad, and that that spirit, that mentality we spoke about, Rory, that's going to be so important. And once you get into tournament football, it's about getting as many points as you can to qualify. Now we're in that position because you need to remember we're ranked 42 in the world. Morocco are 7. So yes, of course, answering your question, you need to go into every match equipped as best you can be, deploying your resources as best you can to achieve an outcome from it. Now, the Haiti game, we did that. We set up in a 4-4-2 with an intent to go and attack and try and, win the match. We did that. I think people need to remember that. We did that. As I say, 16 games into this tournament now, there's been 8 draws. Scotland have got 3 points. A lot of teams, there's Spain have not got that. Brazil, Morocco have not got that. So now it's going into the next game. And I think the way we're looking as a squad, I think it would always be, knowing Steve Clarke and Stephen Naismith and Alan Irvine, the way they'll set up the team, it's always game by game, and getting into this match, it's a different match, it's a different opponent. In terms of the analysis, you'll have seen it yourself, they're a really strong team. But I think if we set up in a more pragmatic style, then I think there's a real opportunity, and having that monkey off the back, having that win, having that 3 points, it allows us to get in with confidence. I think it's then down to the expertise of Steve and his coaching staff to select the right players in the right positions. And that thing I go back to about the connection between the staff and the players, that they carry out that game plan. But I think there's a trust. I think there's a huge trust between the players and the staff that we will carry out a game plan as best we can. And hopefully that'll be enough. I hope we come out with a point, and maybe, you never know, in the transition moments, maybe we can go and nick a goal. But you need to remember the strength of the opponent that we're playing against. But I'm sure, I know for a fact how much work will be done in terms of analysis and preparation for this match. And I go into it with confidence. I do think, yes, we're underdogs. We'll probably play a system that's a bit more familiar with us. And every player within that will know their role. And if we carry out that and we execute a game plan, then I think we've got a chance, a real chance.
Rory, do you think that it'll be 4-5-1 and that Lawrence Shankland might be the one that has to drop out?
Yeah, I do. I think that's a real possibility. If it was me, I would start Shankland in the one. But Shadham's just done fantastically well. He played a big part in the goal the other night. No personal issue with Che Adams starting. I just think that Tony talks about transitional moments, and I spoke before about, for me, Lawrence Shankland is the least chance of you having regrets when the ball drops in the box. The least chance of you looking back and going, oh, if we'd only put that away. Not to say Lawrence Shankland's going to take every chance, but whether Steve Clarke goes with 3 at the back, I don't think he will. I think he'll go with a 4 with 2 holding, McTominay just in front, and then you've got your McGinn and Doak on the sides. Bring Christie in, I think, alongside Ferguson, just in front of the back 4. I think that's the best opportunity. Now, a lot of people look at Morocco with trepidation based on what they did against Brazil. Well, we're no Brazil. We're not going to go gung-ho. We're not going to come out with 2 high wingers and a midfield who just want to maraud forward. And I think Morocco caught Brazil by surprise. I think Brazil thought they were going to turn up and just beat them. So we are going to be a lot more compact, a lot more pragmatic, as Tony says. And I think after 10-15 minutes, if we can show a solid structure, which you would expect under Steve Clarke and good organisation, Morocco will become a lot more frustrated. Now, they've got players that can thread the eye of a needle and make it very difficult, and you can play really, really well against Morocco and still lose. The boy Bouadi in the middle of the pitch, 18-year-old against Brazil, was phenomenal. Really good. And their strikers get 19 goals for PSV Eindhoven this year, so it's not going to be an easy task. But I do believe it will have a very different look to Morocco against Brazil and Scotland against Haiti. I think we will play to give up possession, but we do have the players that can hurt them without a shadow of a doubt.
Would you go along with that, Tony? Will it be a 4-5-1 with Lawrence Shankland, the one that has to drop out?
I don't like the phrase 4-5-1. I see as being more a 4-1-2-3. That drops into a 4-5-1. Of course it is, but I think the threat of that front 4, the system that Morocco play, they play that 4-2-3-1, and the striker Unai that plays off Saibiri, they're a top side. That front 4 are a top side. So I think if we can deploy resources to make sure we've got a back 4 and probably 1 sitting, I would say, Rory, with 2 8s maybe. But listen, you've got 3 midfielders in there that are going to need to do a job. They're going to need to win second balls. They're going to need to match runners. They're going to need to have their transition moments. And the importance then of your wide players, in particular Bengan and Doak, giving us a ball carrier, getting us up the pitch. That's going to be so important. And there's decisions to make, but I think the formation will resort to that 4-5-1, but I still think we need to quickly transition into attacking, formations if we can, and try and get into good areas. And as you said there, Rory, if we get the opportunities, take any opportunity that we can get. But it's going to be tough. There's no doubt about it. It's going to require a real disciplined, structured performance. But who's better at doing that than Steve Clarke? Than setting up his team in a way that everybody knows their role, everybody knows it with the ball, without the ball, what we're meant to do, and the importance as well. With the heat, that everybody knows substitutes. It's not just the players that start; it's the players that come on. If we can carry out and execute that game plan, then we will give ourselves every chance. They've got top players. Hakimi at right back. Sometimes he ends up at outside left. He just keeps going and. There's things in the game, you can't just stick to your structure all the time. There's going to be loads of 1v1 moments, but if we're disciplined enough, if we're structured enough, if we're in tune with one another, then we'll give ourselves the best chance. And as I say, the way the coaching staff work under Steve Clarke, they'll be well prepared to do that.
What about the Shankland issue, Tony?
That's a tough one for me. I'm Lawrence's biggest fan, that, and I agree with what Rory said about if the ball's going to drop in the box, he's the most likely it's going to score a goal for you. But when I just think back to Scotland's goal the other night, the importance of that, that's a moment, where Hanley's played it in the channels, great control. But once you get into that final third, then Bengan and Doak gets on the next one, it becomes instrumental. You're filling the box with McTominay. It's just how you get up the pitch. You know, if you're going to get up the pitch playing channels, it's Shea Adams. If you're going to get up the pitch playing off Lawrence Shankland, it's him. You know, but I think, again, what I alluded to earlier on there, I think it's going to be a real team job. You know, whoever starts won't finish. So if we start with Lawrence Shankland, he won't finish the game. If we start with Shea Adams, he won't finish the game. So I think it's important that we utilise all the resources and make sure that structure sees us through. There may be a spell in the game where we need to go a front two, and then we look to do that. But certainly to start the game, I probably, and it hurts me to say, I'd probably start with Adams just to get us up the pitch and get into good areas of the pitch in terms of working the channels and trying to get down the sides of Riyadh and Diop when the full-backs, because as I say, Hakimi, he'll go. The other side, Mazraoui, he'll go. So if we can transition those moments and get into good areas of the pitch in that final third, that could give us a real opportunity to get an attack or get a set play.
Indeed, and it shows what anything is possible at this World Cup. Spain held to a draw by Cape Verde. New Zealand, who I don't think anybody expected too much of, getting that draw as well yesterday. So the results can come, certainly, and hopefully Scotland can get the right result against Morocco. I know I asked you for your Scottish Premiership predictions just a minute ago, Rory, so that was a bit of a tall order. I totally accept that, but that's what I'm here for. What's your prediction for Scotland versus Morocco?
I think it will be a tight affair, and I think we'll get a one each draw.
Brilliant. Tony, what are you thinking?
I'm going the same. I'm going one each.
Good, me too. Right, quick fire questions. Will Scotland go through, Rory?
Yes.
Tony, I think you've just answered this.
Yes.
What's been your moment of the World Cup so far, Rory? And you can't choose John McGinn's goal.
I've probably seen all the videos from the Scotland fans in Boston just taking over.
Which one in particular?
Probably the march down to Fenway Park. That was sensational. Just seeing them taking over and everyone taking to them. So many moments on the pitch, but that really was an insight into how good it looks over there.
Tony, your World Cup moment so far, and as I say, you can't pick John McGinn's goal or the final whistle against Haiti.
Well, that's good. That leaves me the national anthem. The national anthem. I watched it with friends, you know, and it was spine tingling, you know, because you remember we hadn't been there for 28 years, and yes, you know, when you get a national anthem, I get it hammed and but when you hear the volume and you're part of that, you know, that you're there now, you know, that national anthem had so much significance for me, and it was a moment, a proper moment, and then to go on and get the 3 points for the game made it even sweeter. But once that national anthem comes on, that really gets your blood going. That gets the hairs in the back of the neck standing up.
Rory, who's winning the World Cup?
France.
Tony?
I'm going to go again, Rory. You've been on my wall chart. I'm going France as well. I would have said Spain.
You get any doublers with the stickers? I'm collecting the stickers.
Go to it.
Tony, I have to pick you up actually, because last week I heard you on with Kenny McIntyre, and he asked you who's your dark horse for the World Cup.
That was ridiculous.
You said Argentina.
I know the amount of people have said that to me. Dark horse. Do you know what? He threw me. I actually didn't hear it coming through properly.
Okay.
I thought he was asking me who did I think had a chance. Dark horse. Do you know what? Before the game last night, I was going to say Belgium, but I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to stick with Belgium. You know, the draw last night. But I'm going to stick that. You know, I know they've lost their kind of golden age of players, but they've still got some decent players, you know, and I think they could be one. Japan, possibly another one. Really impressed with watching them against Holland. So Japan or Belgium, would that do as a dark horse?
Who's your dark horse, Rory, since we're talking about it?
Oh, let's go positive, and not from our point of view. We know what we're capable of, but from the world watching point of view, I think we'll get through.
You're saying Scotland are the dark horse for the World Cup, Rory. I'm loving this.
In terms of progressing further than people think and being a little bit of a surprise package, shall we say, I'll go with Scotland. I think they could get to the last 16, the quarterfinals.
Yes, Rory.
Yes, but in terms of winning it, I don't see a nation out with the big hitters winning it. I just don't.
So quarterfinals for Scotland, you're saying, Rory?
Last 16 quarterfinals, yeah.
Loving it. Thank you. Who's going to be the hero of the World Cup? Rory?
I think he'll sign off as rubber stamped the greatest of all time. I think Messi will have a fantastic World Cup.
Tony?
I've just got a wee feeling about Vinicius Junior. His goal the other night was just ridiculous, you know. And I just, when you see somebody starting their campaign in the World Cup like that, he's only going to go on from strength to strength. And if the Brazil team, you know, kick on, well, I think they probably will, then I think it could be him. I think he could really explode in this tournament.
And final question, who is going to be the villain of this World Cup? Rory?
I think he has got a bit of an attitude at times, and it's been well documented how much he upsets people. So whilst I've got France as the winners, I don't think it'll come without its moments involving Kylian Mbappe, who I don't know, a lot of people don't take kindly to what they hear about him in terms of the dressing room. You never know whether any of that's true or not, of course. But let's say France winning it without Kylian Mbappe in the starting lineup. What a story that would be.
Wow. Intrigue. Yeah, good one. Tony, can you top that?
Just making up stories at this point, Jonathan, I'll be honest.
Just Eleanor, I would say the villain could be VAR.
Oh, poor old VAR. It's always getting a kick.
Can we go back? That's a great answer. Can we go back?
Hold on. Counterbalance. It's not been that bad so far, has it?
Long way to go, Jonathan. Long way to go.
Because they don't get involved in anything, really, which has been great.
It's been great because the biggest thing is that you see the crowds that are there. You see you can feel, you're obviously not there. I'd love to be there, but you can feel that atmosphere, and you need to feed that atmosphere. And I just worry about the spontaneity. I worry about the weights with VAR that it's going to affect that crowd experience, because at the moment it just looks, some of the views you've got of those stadiums and how full they are, and the
beautiful,
the atmosphere that gets generated by both sets of supporters. It just seems fantastic. So I just hope VAR does not affect that.
I was behind the sofa when it hit Grant Hanley's hand, I'll tell you that.
Oh, let's not talk about that. I can't believe that we got away with that. But anyway, yes, we got away with it. Brilliant stuff. Listen, thank you very much. Rory, thank you. Tony, thank you very much. Well done for straight batting all those Derek McInnes questions. It was like watching a batsman at Lord's. Fantastic. Great stuff. Enjoy the rest of the World Cup, guys. I'm sure we'll speak to you before too long. Remember, there are new episodes of the Scottish Football Podcast every day. Don't miss out. Have push notifications turned on your phone and subscribe on BBC Sound. Scottish Football, the gift that keeps on giving. Thanks for listening.
For everything you need to know about your team this season, download the BBC Sport app. All the latest news, goal updates, stats and scores, and insight and analysis. Just select your club to get the biggest stories and best content at your fingertips. What a result. Download the BBC Sport app for everything you need to know about your team this season.